'Tis I, T-Shroom here for the Investing Bros. Man, it is yet another day without Tim. He's not feeling good, guys. We were hoping it was going to be a one and done sickness, but it turns out he's going to be probably sick for a little bit. But I do have my bachelor party coming up this weekend, folks. So he's got to get better so that he can sub in, tap in, and be the bro on the beat. The bro on the beat. So we're hoping for a quick recovery for Tim and praying for him, obviously, as well. But you tuned in to get a little bit of the download on Bitcoin, and we're going to be getting into that. Could this potentially be a big moment? Could we be just 7 days from a very bullish event? There's some charts that I'm going to show you that seem to indicate exactly that. We're going to dive into that here in just a second. But bros, go ahead and smash the like button for me. It's really awesome to have you all tune in, spend a little time with you, go through some charts, whether they be bullish or bearish, get into the news, whether it be bullish or bearish. But either way, we're going to come to you every single day, every workday, 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go live to bring you all what matters in crypto, and it's brought to you by who we trust, which is iTrust Capital. Go ahead and check out the link in the description for the IRA, Roth IRA, and generally tax-advantaged crypto services over at iTrust Capital. It's who we trust with our crypto tax-advantaged accounts. Let's go ahead, and I'll get into it right on the other side of the intro. Bros, here we are. We're asking the question, what could happen in the next 7 days for Bitcoin? We're also, second half of the show, I think we're going to transition and talk about these meme stocks because they don't seem to be going away. I want to know, are you all buying the meme stocks, whether it be AMC or GameStop? Those seem to be the two big ones right now, but I remember BlackBerry, BB ticker. I don't know if it's still around, but I remember it was kind of getting in on the fun last go-around back in 2021. When these meme stocks really got a run for their money. We're going to be taking a little bit of a deep dive here in some different voices and different perspectives in that space. Could they be a buy even at these elevated prices? We'll get into those questions here in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and jump on into the Bitcoin charts brought to you all by LuxAlgo. Now, this is a chart you may not have ever seen. If you are an experienced investor trader, you'll notice quickly that this number over here, 26, is a very small number. What could this mean? Oh, what is 26? What could this mean? Well, this is the Bitcoin over gold chart, right? And as you can see, that and I'm on the daily chart, in just 7 days, right, we could be absolutely going higher, right? This has been consolidating for a while, going back all the way past 2024, all the way back to October, right? Gold has been gaining on Bitcoin, or Bitcoin has been gaining on gold in the uptrend, right? But recently, since March, Bitcoin has given back a decent amount of this gain. And now, just in a matter of a couple of days, could be as soon as 7, we could see a huge break to the upside. Now, of course, it could take longer. This pennant doesn't wear out until 12 days from the current candlestick that we're in today. But it could be today, it could be tomorrow. What would a breakout look like, bros? This is the Bitcoin to gold chart. If you're just tuning in, we're taking a look at it here because this is consolidation that could be reaching a fever point here. So just a breakout would look like this. Price would come up, it would tap this downtrending line of resistance, and it would flip it into support by confirming that it is now on the upside of that downtrending line, right? A negative outcome would be for Bitcoin to continue to lose ground to gold, as it has been in this general downtrend, right? It's losing ground to gold. Gold has been gaining on Bitcoin, right? More demand for gold, less demand for supply. But this could all be changing in this moment of consolidation, right? Something's likely to happen. It could break up, it could break down. Now, a more negative outcome would be for gold to continue to gain, right? We'd see a breakout and then a confirmation, a retest, and then a confirmation to the downside, right? Obviously not going to be this dramatic. And it would look like this, not like what I just drew. I don't know how my brain even came up with that, but it would look like this. And so that would be a negative outcome, right? Overall, this is something that could be pretty bullish because we're going into this period of consolidation in an uptrend. We've consolidated. The buyers and the sellers have negotiated back and forth that Bitcoin to gold should be around 34 or 24 at the lows. Bitcoin versus troy ounce of gold, right? These numbers are somewhat arbitrary. They're just helpful for measurement. But this could be the big moment. Well, let me know. Let me know in the chat. Do you think that this chart is significant, or is this just going to kind of fizzle out and a more dominant narratives are going to take place? What I will say is that big money pays attention to these kinds of charts. Definitely pays attention and asks these types of questions makes investments and trades based off of consolidation of pairs like this. Another pair like this, I'll point out, is the dollar to the yen. It's something that a lot of people don't look at. This is the dollar to the Japanese yen. As you can see here, I've had the Fibonacci drawn for a while. And what you'll notice right away is that Bitcoin is far and away much more elevated. The all-time high is much more pronounced. So here we had 41% from this high to this high. And then versus the dollar, you can see from this high to this high, only 7%, right? So the Japanese yen, what does that tell us? Well, it just tells us that the yen is weak, right? And we already kind of knew that from the news. So, but there's a lot of different ways you can analyze Bitcoin. You could also look at Bitcoin to Ethereum, right? And some of you are rolling your eyes, more experienced investors, you're rolling your eyes. Come on, T-Shroom, we know this, right? But I'm just taking a moment for the noobs. And you all know I like to take my moments for the noobs. Well, I gotta be honest with you all. This chart, the Bitcoin to gold chart, was brought to my attention by the Gold Prairie Twitter account. Really like the Gold Prairie. Big shout out to him. He said this: "You will be happy to know that we are coming to the end of this Bitcoin consolidation when we assess the Bitcoin gold chart. Huge move in the next 7 days. I favor a breakout." Right. So he has a bias to the upside of the breakout. Right. This is the same chart that we were just taking a look at right over here, right? So same chart. If you're getting lost, just trying to help you. Same chart is this one here, right? So he has a bias to the upside, favor a breakout. I tend to as well, but it's anybody's game. I mean, when it's a pennant like this, it can go either way, regardless of if it's an uptrend or a downtrend, right? If it's non-symmetrical, then it would be an ascending triangle or a descending triangle, and that will have implications on whether it's up or down. I've got Piper Academy dropping a heart in the chat. What is up, Piper Academy? Good to see you. We've also got Crux, who's been under the weather, said, been sick. Sorry, bros, /alumni. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely, man. Let's see. Will Sharp said, I'm excited to see how ILV moves during this run. Yeah, so there's a lot of altcoins that could do very, very well this go around in this bull run, in this bull market. So we're definitely excited. Bitcoin is not the only cryptocurrency that we'll see upside if history repeats itself in this bull market. For sure. Thank you for pointing that out. There's all kinds of fun that will be had. Gia S dropping a hello, smash the like, everyone. Yes, indeed. Gia, please go ahead and smash the like button. You know she already did. She already did for sure. She's trying to help remind you all who are coming in, you're getting the alpha, but you're not smashing the like, right? That's rule number one. If you're going to come in and get the alpha, you got to smash the like. Well, it goes back to this age-old question, or at least 2009. What is more valuable, Bitcoin or gold? Right? You tell me. Tell me in the chat. What do you think is more valuable, Bitcoin or gold? Both have its perks. But they both also have their cons, and it's looking more and more, based on my portfolio at least, that I much more highly value Bitcoin, right? Don't really have any gold. I have some jewelry that I've invested in for romantic purposes, we could say, that contains gold. That's gold. But for the majority of my, portfolio, it's in Bitcoin squarely, or Bitcoin exposed stocks, which we might have a little bit of time to get into. But tell me, what do you think? What's more valuable to you, gold or Bitcoin? When I feel like it said Depends when you've bought it. Interesting. That's a great point. What is your cost basis on the gold or the Bitcoin? If you have a really low cost basis in gold, then it might be worth a lot to you. Why? Because if it corrects 30, even 50 or 70%, you're going to be fine, right? That might be very valuable to you because you have that peace of mind that you're in the profit so much. Username said, Bitcoin in the real world, in a Fallout world, gold. And if water world ever happens, it would be dirt. I love that. That's hilarious. Kind of painting a little bit more of a chaotic scene where the world has kind of descended into a couple of dystopic scenarios there. Username, much appreciated as always, brings a lot of value to the show. Matt C. jumping in said, what's shaking, TradFi? Faden TradFi jumping in as well, getting the shout out there from Mad C. Haven Peck said, a ring that don't count. We aren't completely... Goodness gracious. Thank you, Haven, for tuning in. He completed that sentence with a word that I don't know that I'm comfortable with. I don't know that I'm not comfortable with it, but in this moment, a lot of my brain cells are going to other things, not moral calculations. So we'll move on. Guys, we've got some big news. It's very exciting news coming up, very bullish, and some of you already know it's kind of coming from the pension world. Hint, hint. Man, I got to be honest with you. This is some of the most bullish news that I've seen. It's going to be really exciting to kind of see how you guys think about it. We'll get to that in just a second. But let's actually go back to the charts here, brought to you by LuxAlgo, because we haven't even looked at Bitcoin's price relative to the dollar yet. So we got to do that, right? We can't just compare it to gold because in reality, while some investors do look at Bitcoin to gold and Bitcoin to ETH and Bitcoin to the euro and Bitcoin to the yen and Bitcoin to the S&P and the NASDAQ and Microsoft and NVIDIA, though, at the end of the day, you have to look at Bitcoin to USD. Will that change one day? Maybe. Maybe it'll be USD, or maybe it'll be Bitcoin to ETH, and Bitcoin to the NASDAQ. Who knows? But right now, the USD is still extremely important. So we're going to look at the comparison here right on the daily. You can see that we are fighting right now for this downtrending line of support is the most important because similar to how I pointed out here on the gold chart, right, that we would want to see a breakout to the upside, right, but this would happen over a period of days, see a breakout, a retest, and a confirmation. Right now, in Bitcoin's live price to USD, we've actually seen that happen. And it might be a little bit easier to illustrate on the 4-hour. Yeah, it's so classic. This is a delicious retest. Unfortunately, we've had several retests in the last couple of weeks, and none of them have broken out. They've done the pump, they've done the consolidation, and they've done the dumpski, but they haven't done the pumpski, which we like to use. Those are the very technical terms they use over at MIT's financial department. So those are the words we're going to use. But indeed, we've had a downtrending line of support or resistance, right? When price is below the line, it's resistance, right? Because it's trying to price is trying to come up and break through, and it's trying to break through and go higher, but here got rejected, didn't go higher. Here got rejected, didn't go higher, and here it went higher. So that's a breakout, right? Well, almost. It's a breakout. Once it comes out, retests, and then breaks out. That's a breakout, right? Until you get that retest, it's a fake out, or there's the potential for it to be a fake out. Now, has there ever been a time where price of an asset was in consolidation and then it broke out and it never retested and just went higher? Yes, of course. There have been instances of that. But for the most part, momentum traders, pattern traders, they're looking for a retest of major lines of resistance that they are flipped into support, and then the breakout can ensue. Okay, so, that's the backdrop for a very traditional and kind of simple way of looking at the charts. But let's go a layer deeper. Let's add the 20-day moving average known as the midline of the Bollinger Band. Right, this is not getting too advanced here. But right now, as you can see, that's been given up. That level has been given up on the 4-hour. Now, I'm not too stressed. I like the midline of the Bollinger Band, right? But I'm not too stressed about it. Why? Because although you did see consolidation or build up of pressure here before the breakout, and that made the midline pretty significant. You also saw the midline basically completely ignored here with this move up, consolidated, and then dump. So the midline of the Bollinger Band on the 4 hour is not all that significant, it seems, during this period of trading, right? However, if we go out to the daily and we look at the Bollinger Band, then we might have a little bit of a different conclusion, because the further out on the time scale, the more important the Bollinger Band, in my opinion. I don't know if that's a technical analysis truth, but in my opinion, it's true. In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that it plays out more likely than not. And as you can see here, the midline of the Bollinger Band has played a little bit more of a key role in providing the tops, resistance, you could say. Here, Bitcoin did not spend very much time above the midline here, rejected back down, and then is now making a play to try to get an entire candlestick to Brent above that midline. Now, I reported this morning that I was feeling pretty bullish because on the 9 a.m. stream, because we were able to print above this line here, that 61.3, which is a multi-month level of support. That is bullish, in my opinion, right? That is, we're getting a nice candle body print above that. We're also, the current candle body we're in for the daily 24-hour summary of price chart movement for Bitcoin to USD is also printing above that line, right? So bullish. The other thing, too, is that it's likely that not likely, at this point, it's going to be true. Well, no, you could still close below, because the day's not over yet, right? This candlestick could go ahead and go all the way down and could close much lower. But this would be, regardless, this would be the first candle that opened above this downtrending line of support. So another very bullish thing to keep in mind here. Now let's look at some oscillators. Let's jump on over to the MACD, and we'll also look at the Lux Algo matrix, oscillator matrix. And I got to be honest with you, I'm thinking the same thing I thought 9 a.m. There's just not a lot to pull out of this. This is weird. You don't see the MACD look like this very much. It almost looks like weeds that are growing in a garden. Like it should look like this. It should tell you something about the movement of the price, right? But you're not really seeing much here. It's just kind of, yeah, it's bullish, I suppose, but it's like kind of all over the place. So the histograms on the MACD not telling me very much, but with a slight bullish leaning. Down here on Lux Algo Oscillator Matrix, I can see, not a lot to pull out, but it's generally bullish, right? And we talked about this morning. We did get a reversal dot here to the downside. So you got 2 of the 3 bullish indicators here from Lux Algo Oscillator Matrix, but what you don't have is a positive money flow just yet. And you got to really zoom in to see that. But indeed, you can see that money flow angle is negative on the daily chart. And until this kind of plateaus, right, and starts to move back up, that's where you may consider a good buy if you're trading, right? If the hyperwave is still pointing up and to the right, kind of moving in that direction, and you don't get reversal candy to the downside, if you don't get any candy up here, right? So if this remains blank, you keep this reversal, money flow plateaus and comes back positive, and the hyperwave continues to move back up, that's pretty bullish, especially on the daily chart time frame. And that was a lot of alpha for you guys right there. That was good, especially for the noobs who haven't looked at that way to use the Lux Algo Oscillator Matrix. That's just one strategy, right? There's other ways that you can use the matrix there, and you can get access to that Lux Algo Oscillator by clicking the link in the description. It's the Lux Algo under the Trading Tools section. Absolutely. And there is a discount for that one as well that you'll be able to take advantage of. Let's zoom out to the weekly chart really quick. We won't spend too much time on this one, but we do have just like the general overtone, right? The general overtone of the market right now is this, right? We just had a pretty big push up since February, and generally since the beginning of the year, big push up, right? But not only are the red histograms growing, accelerating to the downside, you've also got a bear cross that has had the full curl phase, it had the cross, and now these lines are pointing down. What we want to see on the weekly is for these lines to curl back up, right? And for price and for these histograms to kind of level off and start actually printing to the upside, right? That's what we want to see. We've had the ebb, we were looking for the flow. And until we get that, you can kind of think about your risk management in the following way. Maybe I'll deploy some, maybe 25%, right, of what I got right now that's deployable capital that I want to invest with, but I haven't yet. And then the rest of the 75%, at this point in my technical analysis, I can assume that the price may actually be lower, right, in the next week, maybe the week or two, right? But then this is where you have to make the decision for yourself. What does the thumbnail say, right? The thumbnail of this video says 7 days. So 7 days, we could be, investors could be making decisions based on the Bitcoin to gold, right? So that's where your own risk management, your own decision making comes in, and that's why it's not a good idea to ever follow channels that give financial advice, right? We don't give financial advice. We have convictions and we look at charts, but we don't tell you what is best for you to buy. We talk about what we buy, and we talk about what we're seeing on the charts, and we talk about the technology behind blockchain and cryptocurrency. But at the end of the day, none of this is financial advice. And if you're treating it like financial advice, you're more than likely losing money. So you have to take all of that into consideration. I've pointed out a very bullish potential movement, right, for Bitcoin to gold in this general, very large uptrend that's been occurring for a very long time, because Bitcoin has been doing very, very well relative to the USD, and then as a consequence, relative to other commodities such as gold. However, recently, as we saw here, right, what we're about to see play out, hopefully to the upside, is what we also saw right here, right? So there was a time when this broke out. You can see this is an excellent example, right? So this is a mini version of this. This has been a much longer period of time has played out, right? But right here you can see the same thing happen. There was consolidation in an uptrend, in a general uptrend, right? Prices generally moving upwards. But back then, you didn't know what was going to happen here, right? So we're kind of in a similar situation. Even if you cut it off to here and you just think only this price history moving back in time, right? What does that show you? That we were sitting back there, folks who were looking at the Bitcoin to gold chart, thinking, hey, this is pretty symmetrical. This thing is going to break out. And sure enough, it did. Right? And if we go down to the 1 hour, let's see if there's a nice clean breakout retest here. Is this, I can't go lower than the 1 daily because of my membership. Oh, that sucks. Well, I thought I had the top membership on TradingView. I'll have to look into that. Bros, what are you feeling? Bullish, bearish, more sideways? There's also a strong possibility that we go neither up nor down, and that the market completely ignores this Bitcoin to gold consolidation, and we just break right on through it and keep going sideways. Because after all, there are less investors looking at the Bitcoin to gold chart than there are to Bitcoin to USD, and so they're going to be trading according to that chart, not so much this chart. But what I would say is that big money, smart money, definitely takes these types of things into consideration, these types of occurrences, because they're looking at long-term value, and they're thinking, should I rotate out of gold and gold miners, gold mining stocks, and rotate into Bitcoin, right? And according to this chart, that decision is reaching a breaking point, right? Investors are going to speak with their money here in a few days, and it could be could be now, could be in the next 5 minutes, right? But it more than likely be in the next 7 days or a little bit longer. Okay, so that's just one way to analyze the market, right? We could also analyze it based on what the Fed said, which today I'd say it was mostly neutral, right? And mostly neutral with maybe a little bit of a hawkish bias, right? Jerome Powell doing a interview somewhere in Netherlands. It's not an official press briefing where he's telling what he's going to do with the economy, right? It's just it's a conversation back and forth put on by, I believe it was like the Bankers Union of the Netherlands or whatever, right? So this isn't a high pressure speaking event for him. This is let's just take a step back. Let's look at the backdrop of central banking in general. What have we learned from some of the banking crises that we saw last year and this year? What have we learned? What we might anticipate, and speaking much less about what we might anticipate, because he likes to reserve that for the other, the official press briefings. So overall here, you have to make your own decisions. I can make a strong case for Bitcoin being very bullish over the next 7 days, or in 7 days. But I also showed you on the Bitcoin to USD charts, right? The Bitcoin has some issues, especially on the weekly chart. Definitely some more bearishness is being forecasted by that weekly chart, right? But that's not all we take into consideration. There's the regulation in the U.S., there's the Fed's monetary policy and kind of their positioning towards the economy, which tomorrow we will get the CPI print. Make sure you tune in at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, and you won't miss that because you're going to subscribe, right? You're really enjoying this. You're jiving with T-Shroom, and you're only getting half of the bros today. At least the what did I just call them? The bros on the block. You're only getting half of the bros on the block today. So make sure you subscribe. 9 a.m. We'll be getting into that CPI print, and that's going to be an important print in my opinion, right? Because that print could be a make or break print for the cuts being in 2025 or 2024, right? If we get a nice cold print, right, showing inflation has come down, and it comes in lower than. Here, let me make sure I'm getting these numbers right. If we can come in lower than 36, really, 3.6. If we can get a 3.5 print, if that's the number we get tomorrow at, I believe, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, that would be hella bullish, right? The markets would really eat that up because that would mean that we get a cut sooner. Now, there will be volatility. There might be a sell-off initially, right, as the market kind of readjusts to this new paradigm, but then a resumption higher. Guys, if we get a print above 3.8 or even at 3.8, right, that's just signaling to the Fed, it's easy for us now. We're not going to cut in 2024 more than likely, right? So that's another way that you can analyze whether or not you should invest. Deploy more, take profits, invest in general, right? Or just rotate back into bonds, into the fixed income. So many different options in the investment world, especially for Americans. Let's take a look at these crypto bubbles because it's not all just Bitcoin. It's not all just Bitcoin. It's also the altcoins, right? These are alternative cryptocurrencies to Bitcoin. Now, there's some Bitcoin maxis out there. Those are folks who are really only committed to Bitcoin. They only believe in it. And it is the one coin, the chosen coin. And let me just say, I am sympathetic to both sides. I think that Bitcoin is different. It's just built different, right? But altcoins have a lot of promise. I think altcoins are kind of in a phase right now where it's kind of like the dot-com bubble, where there's going to be a few projects that emerge as the next Amazon, Google, Apple, and Spotify, and NVIDIA, and so on and so forth, right? But then there's going to be a lot of companies that come along and get a lot of hype and even get a lot of investment, but they're not going to be around. And folks, there's almost zero barrier to entry at this point with making a new coin and making a new project. But there's a giant barrier to entry to making a good project that's going to last the next 10, 20, 30 years. So oftentimes here on the Investing Bros, we like to zoom out and ask the question, what are some good altcoins to buy? Right? Now, what I'll say is Render. Render is one that I wish I'd bought, but I have not bought. I have no exposure to Render. I wish I did. Today is a day that it's down. Now, do you buy high and sell low? No, you buy low and you sell high, right? Today it's low. It might not be a bad day to get exposure to that one. Now, you might say, but T-Shroom, WLD, by that logic, you should buy that one because it's lower. Maybe you should, right? But WLD is seen by the market as problematic, and we won't get into exactly why that is, but all these altcoins, they come with their own stigma. They come with their own backstory, in addition to just the cold, hard facts of what the chart's doing, what their price relative to USD really is doing, and what the charts are forecasting it might do in the future. There are projects behind it, and the projects and the use cases really matter. For Bitcoin, that use case has already been mostly proven, that it's a store of value and some. Now that the layer 2, the BRC20 narrative is alive and well, it's just up from here for Bitcoin, in my opinion, right? Not financial advice. But with the altcoins, it could be up from here, and more than likely it will be throughout the bull market. However, there is still a question of which one is going to be the best, which one will outperform Bitcoin. And my guess is that there's going to be many that outperform Bitcoin. All right, so let's go ahead and move. I think we've talked about Bitcoin versus gold quite a bit, and that's been really, really good. Let's go ahead and jump into the charts. And the charts today are the news is brought to you all by Arculus. Arculus is our cold wallet that we partner with. They're the next generation in cold wallets, but they've been around just as long as their competitors, right? They've been one of the longest cold wallet providers. They've been out for a long time. and a lot of people have loved them. They're who we've teamed up with for our cold wallet, and they're who we trust for cold wallet storage. Let's go ahead and jump on into the stories here. And boys, bros, do we have a juicy one here. Wisconsin State holds 163 million in BlackRock Grayscale Bitcoin ETF shares. Nice. This is a pretty big story. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to blow the horn on this one because this one is a pretty big deal. This is a pension fund, guys. And it doesn't say it in the title because it's not one-to-one a pension fund. It's kind of like a Hedera and BlackRock situation, if I will. Not quite a joke there, but a little bit of a jest. 2,450,400 shares of BlackRock iTrust Bitcoin Trust ETF, now valued at $99 million, so just under $100 million, and just under $64 million in GBTC. They had all of that on their balance sheet the first quarter of this year, right? And we talked about how there's some banks out there that are also onboarding a lot of Bitcoin and how it in Bitcoin ETFs and how it could actually be less that they are bringing it onto their balance sheet to hold it, and it could also be that they're providing money market making services where that would be required to hold it on their balance sheet. Those are two different motivations, right? Two different incentives for purchasing and holding the IBIT or the GBTC. Here, I think it's a little more clear that the Wisconsin pension, right, and the labor union, the workers union, is buying this to hold it, right? Other than Bitcoin ETFs, the investment board has also invested in Coinbase. So did I. America's biggest crypto exchange, and MicroStrategy's. So did I. A software company that owns more Bitcoin than any other public firm. It also holds investments in Bitcoin mining firms such as Riot Platforms, CleanSpark, Marathon Digital, and Cypher Mining. Now, the way this is written, I don't know if it's saying that MicroStrategy holds investments in these, but either way, you know, the Wisconsin pension would have exposure to these because it's disclosed that it owns MicroStrategy. So very bullish. Like, I can't overstate how bullish this is. Let's see what Eric had to say. Eric Bulkanis over at Bloomberg said, wow, a state pension fund bought IBIT in first quarter. Normally you don't get these big fish institutions in the 13Fs for a year or so when the ETF gets more liquidity. But as we've seen, these are no ordinary launches. Good sign. Expect more as institutions tend to move in herds. Bros, like, I think we had a pretty bullish headline last week. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been, it was something out of Japan that did something similar. But like, genuinely, Bitcoin isn't trading on this news, but this is really big news, right? We have not gotten a U.S. state pension fund, to my knowledge. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments in the chat right now. Let me know, because to my knowledge, this would be the first time that a state pension fund has been able to get exposure to Bitcoin's price action. Now, they're not buying Bitcoin. They're not custodying Bitcoin, right? They're basically using BlackRock as a conduit to do that. And that's, okay. Because ultimately they are applying demand pressure to the spot price of Bitcoin. Now let's jump into the comments here because I want to see, what do you all think about this headline? This is huge, guys. And I'm not trying to just yam this up. This is real. This is a real deal. Wisconsin State holds 163 million in Bitcoin ETFs. Let's see what is being said here. Pakasad said, T-Shroom and Josh, ? From Discover Crypto, not having bachelor parties this weekend. T-Shroom and Josh, not sure exactly what you mean by that, but I'm having a bachelor party this weekend. Tim is not going to be there because there's got to be somebody to hold down the bros, right? Fade and Tradfi said, big money, real big money is buying, guys. Follow the whales. Exactly. That's what this headline is. Why I'm leaving it on screen, because this is honestly one of the bigger headlines of 2024 for me, right? This one is right up there with SEC approves Bitcoin spot ETF, right? This is it. This is the final boss. It doesn't get much bigger. I guess the Army pension fund, like the right, the TRS or whatever it's called, like you could start getting some really big non-state employer unions or like 401k managers that could, that would be, I guess, bigger or maybe equal. This is big. And I also read earlier, I don't think it says in this article, but Wisconsin is, their state pension is actually pretty well respected, right? So this will be seen as pretty big. LOL, you hurt T-Shroom's head with that comment, Zachary Martin. You did. I'm not really sure what that means. You said something about a bachelor party, but nobody named Josh is going to be there, and Tim won't be there because he can be here. New World Disorder said, we need a Bitcoin bond market if there isn't one yet. A Bitcoin bond market. Let me think about that. So the thing about bond markets is that they're issued by an entity, right? Bonds, since the beginning, I believe the beginning was the Habsburgs that were issuing bonds to be able to fund some of the early European wars. I say that's probably like 40% true. But bonds have to have an issuer, right? And they have to, and I just don't know if Bitcoin bonds are going to be a thing. Now, you could buy a bond in El Salvador, and that could be pretty significant. Maybe there are a Bitcoin bond market. Let me know in the chat. Have you guys heard of one? Because that's an interesting thought. Bob said, have a great bachelor party, T-Shroom. Bob, you get it, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see what else we got jamming on in here. Swift Snail. That's a great question. That's a great name. Goodness. Said, when will this big money translate to Bitcoin rising? Nice. The ETFs have been having huge inflows. Yes. No. So they had big inflows. Those inflows have greatly slowed. And let me show you what I mean by that. Waiting for some pages to load here for the bros. Load for the bros. My internet needs some milk. Check it out here. So we did have really big inflows for a while, right? And then we had a period recently where we kind of had some selling, some profit taking, more than likely by folks via the ETFs. But then since then, it's been anemic. There's just been very little volume one way or the other, kind of canceling themselves out. So the first part of your comment there was accurate, right? That there has been huge inflows. There have been historically, yes, and record-setting inflows. But recently, like in the last couple of weeks, this sideways action is because it has a lot to do, in my opinion, with the lack of volume on those ETFs. And so I would say that the market is kind of holding its breath, trying to figure out what is the next big bullish momentum. And I tweeted out last week that this new momentum, the new bullish thesis, buy thesis, is really what we see today. It's corporations kind of disclosing through the earnings seasons that they have Bitcoin on their balance sheet or Bitcoin ETFs. But this is the big one, right? This is the big new movement. And I did ask in that tweet the same thing you asked, right? Which is, when does this translate to the Bitcoin price rising? And that is a question that I just don't have the answer to. I mean, it will happen when it happens, right? It's a question that I would love the answer to, and it's a very important question, but I just don't think it's answerable, unfortunately. It's like, when? Well, that's the $1 million question. When, Lambo, right? It will, though. And why do I say that? Why do I say that with confidence? Well, because when I zoom out on this chart of Bitcoin, right? I'm on the daily chart. Maybe I shouldn't be. Let's go to the weekly. When I look at this chart, I see a pullback, right? And yesterday we did some crazy analysis about GameStop. We're going to get to that in just a second, actually. We're going to talk about GameStop again. But we did some analysis where the last time we saw GameStop halting trading, really the last time GameStop went gangbusters was January 28th, 2021, right back here, right? Very similar to where we are now, right? It was a big move up and then a pullback of, at this time, it was 31%, right? So we've had a big move up, and now we're seeing a pretty pronounced pullback of 22%, right? Which is why a lot of folks aren't bearish, but they're thinking, man, this thing probably could go lower, down to 31%, because that was the pullback that we got last time. That would only bring us down to 50K, right? Which, for people like me, I'm sitting there like, let's go. I'm going to buy some more Bitcoin here. That's why I risk manage, to keep dry powder on the sideline so I can deploy, right? That's what I do. So when I zoom out on this chart in general, though, I'm thinking this is going higher, right? So that eventually, and so when we get these headlines and price doesn't hit based on it, it's going into the chamber, right? It's going into the arsenal of bullish pressure that's building, right? So it's not so much that each headline sends Bitcoin higher, because we're not seeing that translated on the charts. You point that out very well. But what it is it's building pressure, and every time we get that headline, it's just more potential to the upside. And this one's like, this headline is one for one exactly that, because it's, these guys don't buy to sell. These guys buy to hold, right? And the fact that they are getting in on the first quarter of this ETF, bro, like seriously, this is very bullish. This is very bullish. I think some people in the chat do realize this one with me. I was really excited to see that. I didn't make it in. It didn't make into the 9 a.m. stream. But when I saw this one this morning, I was like, wow. Let's see. Got another bachelor party comment here. Said Jim, Jest Jim. He said, like you might be a redneck. My oldest son with his friends, his bro, and I went fishing off the grid for his bachelor party. LOL. Yeah. I don't know if I'm a red. I don't think I would call myself a redneck. I've had my redneck moments, right? I've gone hunting off of a boat with shotguns, right? And there was, well, I won't say the second part, but and it was a lot of fun. And there were a couple of yees, and there were moments where we also gave a haw or two, right? There were he's and haws, and yees and haws. So we had fun. I don't know that I'd call myself a redneck, but I definitely have my redneck moments. New World Disorder said, that's right. You don't get rich selling crypto. You get rich holding it. Absolutely. And the Wisconsin pension is going to be sending its pensioners to the moon. You got to love it. All right. Well, there's more here. We got Eric's take on the bullish Wisconsin news. I wanted to give a shout out really quickly to this proof of workforce. Now, I will say I haven't vetted this, so I don't know necessarily if this is like the most. There could be something fishy going on with this, but my guess is that it's not. And so these guys are really cool. So what they do is they're a nonprofit helping workers, unions, and pensions with education-based Bitcoin adoption. Honestly, I'm going to be we have never contacted with each other, but I'm going to be reaching out to them and seeing if we can get a rep to come on and talk about, because I think that it's possible that they're posting about it because they played a role in that in the Wisconsin retirement system, allocating to Bitcoin. That's huge. It's huge. It's so big. So I want to see if we can get somebody from over there and see what we can do to help them out. You might be seeing T Shroom fly around the country to help educate labor unions. Never thought I'd be doing that, but that might be something in my future. We'll see. Maybe it's something in your future. Is that something that sounds attractive? If we get involved with them, we'll be talking more, and you guys might be able to get involved if you want. I've got a positive news here from Polkadot. So Polkadot debuts asynchronous backing. So this one's actually pretty cool. And for periods of May 9th and 15th, the latest in blockchain tech upgrades, funding announcements, and deals. So let's check this out here. May 14th, Polkadot, the layer 1 chain ecosystem co-founded by Ethereum co-founder Gavin Woods, has debuted asynchronous backing. According to the team, it sets the stage for Polkadot 2.0, a wave of enhancements expected to significantly improve the scalability, cost, speed, flexibility of the network, and accelerated growth of decentralized apps, dApps for short. According to the team, asynchronous backing cuts block time in half from 12 to 6 seconds, enables parallel transaction validating block production, and delivers up to 10x higher throughput for Polkadot's parachain consensus protocol. A lot of P's, a lot of growth and development there from Polkadot. Very, very cool. Love to see it. Polkadot, definitely one that I've held on to. Crypto, altcoin, and don't plan on selling it too soon. I think it'll do pretty well in the bull market. Not financial advice. Is the absolute mantra of the stock market right now. Everybody is walking on eggshells, not wanting to get in trouble here because of this. AMC completes $250 million stock sale during meme rally. Shares jump 30%. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at the meme stocks here. And let's check them out. Let's see how they're doing. I'm on the weekly chart. Maybe I shouldn't be. Let's go on to the daily. Let's actually go to the 4-hour and see what's crack-a-lacking here. So we've seen a pullback. Here. It got up as high as $64 per share and then got down to 15.5 right now. No, I'm sorry. That's 23%. Got down as low as $49 now is the live trading. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. I totally misquoted it. Way outside the Bollinger Bands. Absolutely insane. I haven't. I've purchased a very, very small amount. I call it a trace amount, right, of GameStop just to participate a little bit, really just to test Robinhood more than anything, and they've done well. Robinhood has really redeemed themselves, I think. I never stopped using Robinhood, but I think that they've done pretty well here through this new GameStop ordeal. Started off by what's his name? Roaring Kitty. Roaring Kitty has really started something special here, yet again. Let's keep moving here. Oh, man. This story, I almost got to it on the 9 a.m. stream. I'll get to it here now. It's a little more spicy, a little bit more crunch to it than we might be used to. So hold tight here, bros. We try not to get controversial, but we're going to do it. Andrew Tate says he's cashed $500K in Bitcoin to go all in on GameStop. There he is. What's his name? Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate there, looking cool, right? Say what you will about them, but they look cool. They just look like a couple of cool guys. Jumping down to some of the quotation here. I'm cashing $500,000 to buy Bitcoin. Sorry, I totally restart. Bruh. I'm cashing $500,000 of Bitcoin right now, and I'm going all in, maximum leverage, all in on these stocks. Tate claimed, we're losing all the money. We are taking down Wall Street. We're losing all the money. We're taking down Wall Street. We're going to take them down ourselves. Bros, let me know. Do you think that this sentiment is good? Do you think that it's well thought out? My opinion is that this is, we talk about institutional manipulation. And look, this is controversial, right? Because some of you might be, totally on Tate's side here. You're on Team Tate, and you're thinking you're going to take down Wall Street through buying GameStop. There's another way to look at this, which is this is a pump. This is manipulation, right? It's not from an institution, or it may be through Tate and institutions. Right, and I don't like taking the opposite side of the culture, right? I get it. Wall Street has its terrible, terrible history, right? There's lots of corruption and manipulation for sure. But not all protesting is organic. How about we put it there, we leave it there. Let me see. You guys tell me, what do you think about this movement here? Have you made money? Do you care about the lore, so to speak, of this? Or do you just want to make the money and get out? Or do you generally think that this is a way to get back at Wall Street? Fade and TradFi said, I think it's a middle finger to Wall Street, and I'm bullish for it. Yeah, I mean, hey, to the extent that it is an effective symbol to Wall Street, I'm not sure, but it definitely is a middle finger to Wall Street. And I think that people definitely lost money in hedge funds. I think there was like a lot of money that hedge funds have lost so far trying to short GameStop. Well, bros, we've got Caleb Branson in the chat right now, and he's going to be joining us tomorrow while we're live. Caleb Branson Wednesdays. We're going to be breaking down the CPI print that'll be coming out tomorrow. Caleb Branson said Bitcoin is the biggest middle finger to Wall Street, bro. Those are the true statements right there. That is so true, right? And it's like it's a middle finger to Wall Street, and it's also an invitation. It's like, come to our side, come to the orange side, right? So in some sense, this is really taking on an interesting positioning here, because it's like, what is the alternative to Wall Street? Is it meme stocks? Trump has been doing some pretty interesting stuff with the stock market, using it for his own end. And in the same way, crypto, I would say, is a much bigger movement that does run counter to a lot of the interests of Wall Street. And Bitcoin is obviously the most significant among that. At the same time, we just had Wall Street swallow Bitcoin. BlackRock, Fidelity, and other issuers going ahead and saying, hey, we're going to sell this because we believe in it, right? We believe it's a flight to quality. It's quality. It's the new gold, right? Not completely a quote for quote there from Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, but that's essentially the ethos. That half of Wall Street, or a significant portion of Wall Street, is like, Bitcoin ain't cool. Bitcoin is dope. Bitcoin is the new gold, and we're gonna take these to sell it to you, but we want you to own it. We want you to own it because this U.S. government, this global system of Keynesian economics that's kind of bleeding into modern monetary theory, it ain't it, boy. It ain't it. You need to get diversified into gold and this new thing called Bitcoin. And you can do that by buying our ETFs, which are traded on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ. Not sure which one, but it's Wall Street, right? So I would say that Wall Street isn't going anywhere, right? The middle finger to Wall Street is like throwing. It's like, and this is my personal opinion, right? I'm definitely not speaking on behalf of Tim because I think he has a different position on this. But I just don't think Wall Street's going anywhere because it's not a institution. It is an institution, but it's also a mindset among people that capitalism uber alles, right? Capitalism is above everything. My own personal gain above everything. And that happens to work, actually. If everybody thinks that way, but also has a code of ethics and, bows to a god, that actually ends up working out pretty well. And you have growth, and you have companies that have new ideas that look to Wall Street for financing those ideas. And it's this big positive feedback loop. Now, there's many ways that you can look at Wall Street in a negative way. But here's what I'd say. If you try to cut off the head of Wall Street, another one is just going to grow because it's not an institution as much as it is a mindset among the most elite capitalists who are always going to exist, right? Wall Street, for what it is, it's at least predictable sometimes, right? The new Wall Street, the Wall Street 2.0, which I wouldn't say is Web 3, it's something else. Actually, it's kind of an interesting thought to think about, like, what is Wall Street 2.0? Because it's definitely not going to be a space. It's not going to be geographically specific because Wall Street, the name, is an actual physical place. You can go visit it. I visited it. It was a lot of fun. It was cool. But I don't think it's going to be a physical place. I think it's going to be, I guess, the finance DeFi of Web3, I guess, is kind of like, that doesn't seem very sexy right now, but I think that's kind of where I see it reconsolidating. But right now, Wall Street is being decentralized, right? This time in 20 years from now, we could see every asset no longer trading through the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, right? Or the Chicago commodities exchanges. And instead, it's all trading on blockchains, right, through tokenization. Maybe. And what is Wall Street? Not the institution, but the mindset. What does that look like then? Does it look like a bunch of suits and ties in a a skyrise that's got JP Morgan's name on it? Or is it a bunch of people in hoodies in a skyrise with Wall Street bets on it instead, right? Or stock tweets or Twitter, or like what does the Wall Street of the future look like? Man, we're getting some good conversations. Either way, Wall Street is going to play a role in trying to value assets, both in the present and in the future. And the Kabesi letter is helping us remember that value does matter in the long run with these assets, right? It's pointing out the PE ratio for GameStop. The PE ratio has spiked to a whopping 1,210, right? X. So the PE ratio, and usually it's 34. So, and this is high, right? This is NVIDIA's P/E ratio. GameStop, as I talked about yesterday, sells an inferior product, physical games, right? You can download games for free on Steam, on Xbox, on PlayStation, on Nintendo. Why do you need a store for that? Well, there's cool, like, little collectibles. There's like, special controller, Amazon, that you can buy. There's like collectibles from games, Amazon, eBay. Sorry. So GameStop ultimately, does it have value? It could, right? If the CEOs were like, yeah, we're going to make the metaverse. We're going to, make gaming awesome. We're going to be the next. But that's not really what you're hearing from them, right? If you really look at GameStop, a lot of their value, in my opinion, derives from the real estate holdings, to the extent that they even have them. Right, and then some licensing, 1,200%. Right, if you're sitting here, you're thinking GameStop has value. If you're buying it because of that part of the narrative, you're wrong. I'm sorry. The market agrees with you right now, But the market also would have agreed with you way back here until it took advantage of you, right? And then the market suddenly disagrees, and then it reagrees, and then it disagrees, and it reagrees. But over time, 3 years later, the market disagreed with you, right? The GameStop is not valued at $89 a share, and certainly not $119. Now, can you have fun here? Can you have fun trading GameStop? Absolutely. Is it kind of cool to get like swept up in the anti-Wall Street aspect of it? I suppose. I personally don't get that part of it. Like, going against Wall Street, to me, just doesn't make a ton of sense. There's manipulation. There's corruption. What do you expect? They're literally investing in the future of ideas. There's going to be people who do that without the most ethics and morals being their compass and their priority, right? Maybe they're putting money first. That's what they do. I don't know. So, I mean, I'm not saying I'm sitting here, I'm like, the darkest parts of Wall Street, I'm cheering them on. No, I obviously know. I wish that it was a better system, but I'm also realistic about human beings, and there's a limit to which you can correct their behavior. I think the Cabesi letter does a pretty good job here, helping folks think that there's a lot of different reasons to buy GameStop right now. And hey, I bought a little bit of it, very little bit, right? But I'm under no delusion that GameStop is going to be super valuable over the long term. Could it spike? Could it 10x? Could it 100x from where it is today? Absolutely. And that's part of why I bought it, right? Just because it's fun, right? But at the end of the day, look at this. NVIDIA is worth more than GameStop, right? And the P/E ratio doesn't lie. Well, that's not true either. The P/E ratio absolutely lies. That's how Wall Street sometimes can manipulate investment. But this is a dramatic and obvious discontinuity. Now let's get to the chat, because I feel like there's probably some folks who are going to disagree. WYSO said, this GameStop stuff seems so short term. It's already way too late to get into it. These new related meme coins seem like a bad idea to get into right now. Absolutely they do. Goodness gracious. Do not buy the meme coins that are spin-offs of GameStop. Look. Yes, please don't do that. Look, right now, if you're serious about investing in your future and getting into trading, getting into investing, right? Honestly, if you really, and you have to spend money, right? Don't get swept up in this GameStop stuff, right? Please. Honestly, if you want to look at a good investment right now, look at Tesla. Tesla right now is really underbought. If you don't have any Bitcoin, you need to buy Bitcoin, right? Not financial advice, any of this. Nothing on this channel is financial advice. But if you don't have any Bitcoin. If you don't have any Tesla, Tesla's looking good. It's looking very oversold, right? The company is also being very effective in positioning themselves as an AI robotics company, right? As soon as that translates, that permeates into the market, I think that's going to get similar allocation to NVIDIA, similar allocation to Microsoft that houses OpenAI, right? And Google. Right? So in my opinion, that's a quote unquote good investment right now. Tesla, it's underbought. You don't hear anybody talking about it. What do you hear people talking about? GameStop. Why? Because it's in a hype cycle. T-Shroom, you suck. You're throwing cold water on our fun. I'm trying to be grounded, right? I'm an investing bro. I'm not a hype bro, right? We get excited about some projects. We will continue to get excited about stuff that we have conviction in or that we think is, has potential. But at the end of the day, people are just going to keep on being people, and you can try to give them the middle finger. I just don't know. It's like giving a middle finger to a giant tsunami, right? It's like you can do it. I don't know. Maybe I'm coming across, as I'm not a man of the people here, so I'll take a second. But New World Disorder said, sounds and feels like it's going to be an orchestrated GameStop pump by the big dogs of the right. Okay. Just as a vulgar display of power to instill fear into the old timers of Wall Street. Interesting. Okay. There's a lot of layers to that take. I do feel like this is an orchestrated pump, right? And even in the most simple sense, how did this get kicked off? Roaring Kitty. Now, does that mean he should be punished? No. It's culture, right? This is culture. If people want to invest in, nobody's holding guns to the people's heads that are buying this, right? At least I hope not. Right? They're buying GameStop because they like the stock. or they they want to be on Team Tate, or they want to give a middle finger to Wall Street, right? Or, and hopefully it's not this last one, or they think that GameStop is a valuable company to buy and invest in. So, and again, I did buy some GameStop, so it's kind of like a crazy paradox that I'm living in here, but I bought a minuscule amount. Maybe one day I'll reveal how much I bought. Let's see. Tried searching Bitcoin to gold on TradingView, but can't seem to find that chart. How do you get the chart? Excellent question. All right, so here's how I do it. I have to find the eye of a newt and the hair of a baby deer. Just kidding. You just go in, you type in BTC USD / gold, and then you just hit enter. You're not looking for a result here. You just hit enter, and then it'll tell you suck because you don't have a good account apparently, and then you can look at it. You just click out of that, and then boom, right? Now it's not going to come ready-made with this pattern drawn, right? But you'll have to draw that for yourself. It's not hard. BROZ, man, I am starting to get exhausted doing all these lives by myself, but it's fun, right? Once we get into it, we start talking about stuff, right? I feel like there's a lot to talk about these days with the GameStop pumps. We're learning a lot about how much liquidity is on the sidelines. I think that's what's important. So far, it's a couple $100 million, I think, that's rotated into, I don't know that it's quite $1 billion. Man, it seems like it's probably in the billions, right? But that's going to be kind of the question I'm having here is like, how much of a pump in the meme coins, in the meme stocks are we seeing? Because that's money, that's liquidity that has been on the sidelines. And some percentage of that is money that people cannot afford to lose, right? So that doesn't really belong to the market right now. But a lot of that money, I'd say probably more than 80, well, probably around 70% is money that could get a serious allocation into Tesla, into Bitcoin, into Microsoft, into something real. And that's where investors are really trying to figure out, where does this money rotate into after investors get burned and GameStop comes back down. One thing to keep in mind, though, is as much as I am trying to provide a grounded take on the GameStop story, GameStop could keep pumping for weeks. Like, we don't know, right? It depends how much people like the coin, right? Let's see. Jess Jim said, got a blur. Great info. Thanks, T-Shroom. TC. Y'all, take care. Wall Street can kiss my butt, said Warren McCarthy. I did it to make money. Which is it? Those are two different things. Let's see. New World Disorder said, I wouldn't recommend Bitcoin to buy it for any gains. I would advise to buy some to have some spare spending money, like how to keep a few bucks under the mattress. It will become necessary eventually. New World Disorder always has really interesting takes that are like definitely not what I was thinking, but I don't completely disagree. I definitely mostly disagree with this because there's going to be a lot of gains for Bitcoin probably by by fall of 2025. I think a lot of people will be gaining for Bitcoin, but in general, I guess I kind of see what you're saying. All right. Do you have affordable links to tax lawyers? If you're asking for yourself because you want to promote, you can hit us up on the email. If you're asking, yeah, we do. Go to decrypted.tax. And we have a link in the description for decrypted.tax. Ernest is an American tax attorney. I don't know that he's practicing, but he would definitely be a good person to talk to. He's someone we know, like, and trust. Literally have a meeting with him this week. And if he isn't willing to take your case, then I'm sure someone else in his network would. Cool. Oh, goodness. I don't know if this is true, but Inspector Caruso said Roaring Kitty's wife works at Goldman Sachs. I wouldn't be surprised. Guys, Wall Street is not something to... It ultimately, at the end of the day, it provides a service, a public service, which is pricing assets. And I know that doesn't seem like much of a service because they're making a ton of money, but it is. Wall Street... So at the same time, the types of people that get attracted to go work in Wall Street and be major players in Wall Street do not, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, do not enter that market thinking that they're providing a public service. They're entering the market because they want to make more money than their frat bros, right? Just straight up. And to be honest with you, I don't think there's anything innately wrong with that. That's competitive, right? That's competition. And hey, a king isn't making you do that, right? A governor, an emperor isn't holding a gun to these people's heads and saying, go work on Wall Street, right? People are choosing that. And that's a lot of hard work. We have to learn a lot of arithmetic formulas, understanding value, future value of assets, and all that. It's not rocket science to learn, but it is complicated. You have to take time and investment to learn that stuff. So Wall Street, am I defending Wall Street? I'm not so much defending Wall Street because I agree that there's tons of terrible things that happen there, both at a large scale. They misuse their trust from the public for their own personal gains. They cross the line on capitalism, and they just line their own pockets and don't actually provide any service to the public, which is pricing assets appropriately. But then you have people like Warren Buffett, who's as Wall Street as it gets, and he, you look at his life's work, he's participated in the pricing of assets, right? Has he become very wealthy? Yeah, you can become very wealthy doing that. but the extent to which we are going to be able to come together and convince Wall Street to stop being bad by buying GameStop, there's something that there's kind of a logical and a reasoning breakdown there for me, because these guys have been around. The types of people that work in Wall Street are the same types of people that worked on the London exchange, right, and that worked on the Dutch exchange before that, and that worked as traders in eastern trade routes to Europe. Like, it's not that you're never going to kill this dragon. This is a dragon that will always exist as long as there's scarcity, right? As long as assets need to be priced, there's going to be a centralization of people making decisions around that. Now, maybe I don't think it's GameStop that's going to be the solution. I think it's going to be, how can we construct a set of incentives to decentralize that decision making? And I think that if anything's going to fix that, it's going to be things like Bitcoin and decentral movements and decentralizing technology and making that type of stuff important, possible. But the reality is that the mindset that goes into what you're thinking Wall Street is, that is going to be perpetuated into the future unless everybody repents tomorrow and stops thinking about money, right? And that's just not going to happen. Looks like we got some more fun in here. Ray Jack said, looks like it's going to crash more, but could DCA a bit now just in case. I hope you're not talking about GameStop. B-Ball Golf 72 said, I became a CPA because I wanted to make enough money to play golf anytime I wanted. Yes. Chat, let me know, why did you become a CPA? B-Ball Golf's letting us know. Hit the likes and stay a while by subscribing. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, username. Absolutely. Well, bros, we've had fun. Oh, did my animation get messed up there? There we go. We've had fun. We've talked about some serious alpha. Let's take a look at the bubbles here. Pepe still doing pretty well. I hope I haven't upset anybody too much. I mean, I hope what I have done is set some people straight, right? Maybe some newer folks to investing who were maybe getting onto a path that was less than in their favor when it comes to this whole GameStop world, right? Wall Street's been around the block. They've written books. They've perpetuated ideas and concepts and strategies. You're not going to beat Wall Street, right? You might beat them in a battle with GameStop and making a couple hedge funds lose some money, but Wall Street is a state of mind, and it's a public good at the end of the day when they're operating at their best, when they're doing what they should do. And I would also say, without Wall Street, we would not have computers. We would not have cheap, affordable goods and services, because the alternative would not have been able to sustain a globalized market that makes commodities cheaper over time, that inspires ideas to be taken to the marketplace and financed and funded, and the prototypes made and then brought to market. All of those things have to have financing, and they have to also have repricing over time based on outside events and internal events to that business model, right? And that's what Wall Street's there to do, right? You can't have a doctor performing surgeries all day and then in his spare time turn around and like, right, price assets, right? That has to be a full-time job for people, right? So hopefully I'm making sense. Hopefully I'm not ruffling too many feathers. I think what I'm saying makes complete sense. Are there bad people on Wall Street? Yes, absolutely. Does it attract disproportionately bad people? I think so. I think as much as it does politics. But there's a quote by Epictetus. There's a whole tale told by the philosopher Epictetus. Is that those types of things are not going to change, right? There's always going to be the proverbial polis, the politics, right? There's always going to be those proverbial institutions that are necessary for populations to be able to cooperate with one another in a large scale. More than 200 people get together. You have to start having governance, right? If you want to have a globalized system of commerce, you want to have cheap and affordable goods and services, you have to have a thing like Wall Street. You have to have full-time asset valuers and traders. And I think we're well on our way to a better, more efficient and effective world. And I think the addition to blockchain and encryption and trustless technology is going to by miles more benefit the public and people and just the average person much more than people buying GameStop right now. I think GameStop, like, are there going to be like hedge fund managers sitting there today looking at GameStop and being like, man, the kids are right. We got to stop being greedy. We got to shut down all of our investments into arms manufacturers, and we got to start being ethical. And like, that's not going to happen. These guys are there. They're showing up. They've got quotas to hit. They're not going to anyway. So I'm going on and on. Won't someone please think of the hedge funds? Yeah. Maybe I'm going too far with this. Sorry about misspelling Discover Crypto Josh. Also having bachelor party this week. Oh, really? That's super interesting. I wonder where his bachelor party is. Rumor mill, Bitcoin is Trojan horse for CBDC? I don't think so. If you believe that, then you should buy Cardano. I will say that. Inspector Caruso dropping some spicy chats today. Crux of Crypto said, thanks, T-Shroom, cueing me to remember what time it is and go ahead and sign off. Thank you, Crux. Username said, I became my own manager so I can listen to T-Shroom and get paid. Let's go. That is the sentiment, baby. That is the alpha. That's the signal. You've been tuned in to the Investing Bros. We've been rocking. We've been having fun. And you are going to smash the like button, subscribe, and check out some of the links in the description. Maybe iTrust. Maybe it's time to open up a Roth or a traditional IRA. Maybe it's time to look into a trading indicator like Luxalgo. Maybe it's time to store some of your crypto on a cold wallet with Arculus. Or maybe, just maybe, it's time to follow T-Shroom on Twitter. Whatever it is, make sure you go check out our descriptions because all of that knowledge down there is as important as what we talk about. There's a lot to explore in this new world of Wall Street 2.0. I think we're coining today here on the Investing Bros. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're trading, keep those stop losses tight. And if you're staying hydrated, then you must be human. Adios, bros.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.